It is a Thursday morning in the spring of 1961, and a high school history teacher from Columbus, Ohio, is sitting at his kitchen table with the Sears Roebuck catalogue open in front of him. He has his reading glasses on, a cup of coffee cooling beside him. He has already ordered a new lawnmower blade and a socket set for his brother-in-law's birthday. He turns another page and takes his reading glasses off, then puts them back on, because what he is looking at cannot possibly say what he thinks it says. Between an advertisement for a portable radio and a display of garden tools, there is a rifle. Not a sporting rifle, not a hunting rifle designed for deer season in Ohio. This rifle has a telescopic sight mounted on the left side of the receiver. An M84 telescopic sight, to be precise, the same sight that the United States Army issued to its designated marksmen through the most destructive conflict in human history. The rifle beneath it is a Springfield M1903A4, the most accurate bolt-action sniper rifle the American military ever produced, the weapon that American snipers used to reach out across distances that other rifles could not bridge and eliminate threats that other soldiers could not address. The price reads $7.95. He teaches American history. He spent 3 years at the University of Cincinnati studying it before spending 4 years living it in the Pacific. Saipan in June 1944, Tinian in July 1944, Iwo Jima in February 1945. He was not a sniper, he was an infantryman. But he knows what this rifle is. He knows who carried it and what they used it for and what it cost to build and what it was worth on the day in 1945 when they put it in a crate and sent it home. He picks up the telephone. He calls the Sears order line. Why did Sears sell 3 million Springfield rifles for $7.95? The answer to that question tells you something extraordinary about what America did with the aftermath of the greatest war ever fought. And it starts not with Sears and not with the war, but with a lesson that the United States Army learned in the Philippines 60 years before the catalogue page was printed. The Springfield M1903 rifle's path to the Sears catalogue began with a crisis of stopping power that the United States Army confronted in the Philippine-American War of 1899 to 1902, a crisis that killed American soldiers and produced the most consequential caliber decision in the history of American military firearms. American forces in the Philippines encountered Moro warriors, Islamic fighters from the southern islands, whose combination of religious conviction, physical conditioning, and determined resistance produced an opponent unlike anything American soldiers had previously faced. The standard military sidearm of the period, the Colt Model 1892 revolver, chambered for the .38 long Colt cartridge, was demonstrably inadequate. Multiple hits from the .38 caliber round were failing to stop determined attackers before they could close to melee range and inflict casualties. The Army responded by reissuing older Colt single-action Army revolvers in .45 long Colt from storage, and the larger caliber proved more effective, but the lesson was written in the blood of soldiers killed by men who should have been stopped. The Ordnance Department's response to this lesson was a comprehensive review of American military small arms that produced simultaneously the .45 ACP cartridge for pistols and a new standard rifle requirement. The Springfield M1903, a Mauser-action bolt-action rifle chambered for the .30-06 Springfield cartridge, was the result of that review. Adopted on June 19, 1903 by the United States Army, it was a weapon of exceptional quality by the standards of any era, precision machined at the Springfield Armory in Springfield, Massachusetts, and at the Rock Island Arsenal in Rock Island, Illinois, with a barrel of 24 inches producing consistent accuracy at ranges that contemporary rifles could not match. The problem that the M1903 was designed to solve was the problem that bolt-action rifles always solve: accuracy at range. In 1903, the defining infantry engagement was still imagined as men advancing across open ground at ranges of several hundred meters, and the rifle that could place its rounds most consistently at those ranges would determine the outcome of such engagements. The M1903's .30-06 Springfield cartridge fired a 9.7 gram bullet at approximately 880 meters per second, a combination of velocity and mass that delivered consistent accuracy at ranges exceeding 800 meters in the hands of trained riflemen. The existing alternatives at the time of the M1903's adoption were each inadequate in specific and documented ways. The older Krag-Jurgensen rifle, which the M1903 replaced in American service, used a cartridge of inferior ballistic performance and a magazine system that loaded slowly and held only 5 rounds. European designs, the German Mauser, the British Lee Enfield, the French Liebel, each had qualities that American ordnance planners studied carefully, but could not simply adopt without the manufacturing infrastructure changes that would have cost more time than the army had available. The First World War demonstrated the M1903's qualities in combat, but also demonstrated, with the same catastrophic clarity as every other tactical lesson of that conflict, that the bolt-action rifle's 15 rounds per minute ceiling was inadequate for the conditions of modern warfare. The M1903 survived into the Second World War era, not as the Army's primary infantry rifle. The M1 Garand had displaced it in that role, but in a specialised role for which its bolt-action accuracy was not a limitation, but an asset. The role of the sniper. The M1903A4 sniper variant was created at Springfield Armory in Massachusetts under the direction of ordnance engineers who had been tasked with producing a designated marksman weapon from the existing M1903 platform. The modifications that distinguished the M1903 A4 from the standard M1903 A3 were both simple and significant. The iron sights were removed entirely, the first time in American military rifle history that a standard issue weapon had been produced without any iron sighting system whatsoever. In their place, a Redfield Junior telescope mount was machined into the receiver, accepting the M73B1 telescopic sight, commercially known as the Weaver 330, or subsequently the M84 telescopic sight, which provided 2.2 times magnification and a field of view of approximately 10 degrees. The M84's reticule was a simple crosshair with no ranging stadia, requiring the shooter to estimate range through experience rather than calculation, but providing a clarity of target image at ranges between 200 and 800 metres that the unaided eye could not match. The barrel of the M1903A4 was a standard M1903, A3 barrel without modification, the weapon's accuracy deriving from the inherent precision of the Springfield Armory production process rather than from any specialist barrel preparation. This was a deliberate manufacturing decision. The Springfield Armory's production standards were sufficiently consistent that selecting individual barrels for accuracy was unnecessary. The action was a standard bolt action, Mauser-derived design. Lifting and drawing the bolt rearward extracted and ejected the spent case, cocking the internal hammer simultaneously. Pushing the bolt forward stripped the next round from the 5-round internal magazine and chambered it. Rotating the bolt handle downward locked the action closed. The entire sequence required approximately 1 second in trained hands, fast enough for the deliberate, aimed fire of sniper work, though inevitably slower than the semi-automatic M1 Garand that standard infantry carried. The weapon measured 110.3 centimetres overall and weighed 4.31 kilograms without the telescopic sight, rising to approximately 4.76 kilograms with the M84 sight fitted. The combination was not compact and it was not designed to be. Snipers did not carry their weapons through assault courses. They carried them to positions of concealment from which they could observe, select targets, and engage at ranges that made concealment more valuable than mobility. Production of the M1903A4 was assigned to Remington Arms Company in Ilion, New York, a decision that reflected both Remington's existing production capacity and its established relationship with the Ordnance Department. Remington produced approximately 28,365 M1903A4 sniper rifles during the Second World War, a comparatively small number reflecting the specialist nature of the weapon and the relatively small proportion of any army that operates as designated marksmen. The 3 million figure cited in accounts of the Sears surplus trade reflects total production across all M1903 variants, the standard M1903, the M1903A1, M1903A3, and M1903A4. Across both World Wars and the interwar period, from Springfield Armory, Rock Island Arsenal, Remington Arms, and Smith Corona Typewriter Company in Syracuse, New York, which produced approximately 234,580 M190-3A3 rifles during the Second World War. The fact of a typewriter manufacturer producing precision military rifles, representing exactly the kind of industrial conversion that characterized the entire American war effort. In combat, the M190-3A4 performed with a consistency that its design had always promised, in the specific circumstances for which sniper rifles exist: the elimination of high-value targets at ranges that preclude recognition of the shooter's position. On the island of Saipan in June 1944, Marine Corps snipers armed with M1903A4 rifles used the weapon's optical sight to engage Japanese officers and heavy weapons crews at ranges between 400 and 600 meters, distances at which the M1 Garand's semi-automatic fire could not guarantee the single, precisely placed round that sniper work requires. Veterans of the Saipan fighting described the tactical effect of effective sniper fire on Japanese defensive positions as disproportionate to the number of rounds expended. The removal of a single Japanese officer from a defended position could produce confusion and hesitation that altered the tactical balance of an entire engagement. In Normandy in June and July 1944, US Army snipers from the 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions used M190-3A4 rifles in the hedgerow, fighting to suppress German machine gun positions and eliminate forward observers whose direction of German artillery fire was inflicting casualties that direct assault could not stop. The bocage terrain, with its limited visibility and its premium on precise fire rather than volume of fire, suited the sniper's methodology exactly, and veterans of the Normandy campaign described the value of designated marksmen in terms that went beyond their material effect to the psychological impact on German soldiers who knew that movement in the open invited a response that they could neither see coming nor attribute to a specific position. At Iwo Jima, in February and March 1945, Marine Corps snipers used the M1903A4 in the methodical assault on prepared Japanese defensive positions, targeting the specific individuals, heavy weapons operators, officers directing fire, soldiers moving between positions, whose elimination contributed to the attrition of the Japanese defensive capacity. The volcanic terrain of Iwo Jima, with its limited cover and its concentration of defended positions, gave the snipers precision fire advantages that the terrain's general difficulty otherwise denied to attackers. If you are finding this interesting, a quick subscribe helps more than you know. The German Army's standard sniper weapon was the Karabiner 98K fitted with the ZF-41 or ZF-4 telescopic sight, a combination that offered comparable accuracy to the M1903A4 at similar ranges, using the same bolt-action mechanism and a comparable caliber in the 7.92mm Mauser cartridge. German sniper doctrine was in many respects more developed than American practice at the outbreak of the war, reflecting the German Army's longer tradition of systematic marksmanship training and its earlier adoption of telescopic sights as standard equipment for designated marksmen. The German Gewehr 43 semi-automatic rifle fitted with the ZF-4 sight offered an alternative approach, maintaining the rate of fire advantage of semi-automatic operation, whilst providing the optical clarity of a telescopic sight. Produced in approximately 53,435 ZA-4 equipped sniper variants, it represented a direct attempt to combine the accuracy of the sniper rifle with the firepower of the semi-automatic rifle that American designers had not pursued in the M1903A4. The Soviet SVT-40 semi-automatic rifle in its sniper variant, the SVT-40PU, used a 3.5 power telescopic sight and provided Soviet snipers with a semi-automatic option comparable to the German Gewehr 43. Soviet sniper doctrine, shaped by the extraordinary experience of urban and positional fighting on the Eastern Front, produced some of the most effective individual marksmen of the entire conflict. Vasily Zaitsev, credited with 225 confirmed kills at Stalingrad, became the most famous example of a sniper culture that the Red Army had developed more systematically than any other major combatant. The British No. 4 Mark 1T sniper rifle, a selected and accuracy-tested Lee Enfield fitted with a No. 32 telescopic sight of 3 times magnification, offered perhaps the most direct comparison to the M1903A4. The number 32 sight's higher magnification gave it an advantage at extreme ranges, whilst the Lee Enfield's 10-round magazine and faster bolt action gave the British weapon a rate of fire advantage that the M1903A4's 5-round magazine and slower Mauser action could not match. British snipers who used both weapons in exchange trials generally preferred the number 32 sight's greater magnification, whilst American snipers who encountered the British weapon noted its advantage in rapid follow-up shots against multiple targets. The post-war surplus of M1903 Springfield rifles followed the trajectory established by every other American military surplus weapon of the period, from frontline service, through reserve storage, through the commercial channels that characterized post-war American retail culture. Sears Roebuck, whose catalogue reached into every corner of American domestic life, from the largest cities to the most isolated rural communities, offering goods unavailable through local retailers at prices that local retailers could not match, became the most prominent mail-order face of the Springfield surplus trade. The $7.95 price for an M1903 Springfield was the lowest price offered for any military surplus rifle in the Sears catalogue, a figure that reflected both the weapon's age relative to more recent surplus items and the government's straightforward need to convert stored inventory into something useful through the most efficient commercial mechanism available. The history teacher from Columbus who took his reading glasses off and put them back on was representative of the Springfield's post-war civilian market, veterans who had carried the weapon or trained on it, collectors who understood its historical significance as the primary American battle rifle of the First World War and the designated sniper weapon of the Second, and hunters who valued the .30-06 Springfield cartridge's effectiveness against every North American game animal at ranges that exceeded what most other sporting cartridges could manage. The Gun Control Act of October 22, 1968, ended the Sears Springfield catalogue entry as completely as it ended every other surplus military firearms transaction in American mail-order retail. The catalogue page was removed. The order line ceased taking those calls. The era of ordering a sniper rifle from a Sears catalogue between the garden tools and the portable radio ended on that date and has not resumed. A standard M1903 A3 Springfield in excellent condition commands between $800 and $1,400 on the current collector market. An M1903 A4 sniper variant in matching condition with its original M84 sight commands between $3,000 and $6,000. A Smith Corona manufactured example, the typewriter company's contribution to American military precision, carries the additional premium that unexpected manufacturers invariably attract from collectors who understand that the story of how a weapon was made is sometimes as interesting as the story of how it was used. Return to that kitchen table in Columbus, Ohio. Return to the history teacher who teaches American history and lived it for 4 years in the Pacific. He has taken his reading glasses off and put them back on. He is looking at a Springfield sniper rifle in the Sears Roebuck catalogue for $7.95. He picks up the telephone. He teaches his students that the Second World War was won by American industrial capacity, by the ability of a nation to convert typewriter factories into rifle factories, and lawnmower plants into aircraft plants, and automobile assembly lines into tank production lines. He has just found the proof of that lesson in the Sears catalogue. $7.95. 3 million Springfield rifles were built by armourers at Springfield Armory and Rock Island Arsenal and Remington Arms and Smith Corona typewriters. They fought in the Argonne Forest in 1918 and on the beaches of Saipan in 1944 and in the hedgerows of Normandy and across the black volcanic sand of Iwo Jima. They ended up in the Sears catalogue for $7.95. And then the law changed and the catalogue page was removed and the most accurate bolt-action sniper rifle in American military history became something that no one would ever again order between the lawnmower blades and the socket sets. The history teacher from Columbus understood what he was ordering. He taught it every day. That was always the point of studying history,